Yeah, we say now as in the military, like the plan is worth nothing, but planning is worth everything. And I think that's like absolutely resonant with all this process, because you will have a plan and it will have to flex, it will have to change.
Before we jump into it, Sam, do you want to just introduce yourself, who you are, what do you do?
So I manage a logistics depot, lots of kind of responsibilities, lots of accountabilities and all that good stuff. And married to two young uns under 4, so that's obviously another demand
Yep.
on my time, and one that's obviously very deserving of my time.
Let's rewind, like I say, a couple of months into the past.
I guess in terms of what was going on from the work situation, I really, really struggled to set any kind of boundaries between that and what was going on at home. I didn't have any clear sense of priorities as to what I wanted to kind of achieve beyond just my immediate work circle. And I guess the consequence of all of it was, like, as someone who wants to do well at work and wants to do well at home, you kind of feel like, oh, I certainly perceived that I was failing at everything. Always feeling guilt as a parent when I was working, when I was at work and working late and early starts and stuff. And when I was spending too much time at work, then I'd feel guilty that I wasn't doing well as a parent. And I guess I probably was interpreting any time that I would have done to kind of prioritize myself or my own personal goals. I probably would have felt that that was actually quite selfish, and therefore I deprioritized. I didn't make time for it. I didn't have any kind of structures to manage it. When I reached out to yourself, Luke, it was after kind of 5 years of this, and I quite quickly got to a place that, well, I say quite quickly, actually quite slowly, I incrementally got to a place over a number of years where I wouldn't really recognize myself as like the Sam that left the army, um, kind of relatively young, ambitious, like pretty fit guy. I'd always been pretty fit in the army. I'd always trained pretty hard. It was something I took really personally. I was really proud of. Um, I increasingly didn't recognize that bloke when I looked in the mirror, and I found it a really harsh reflection.
Let's fast forward then to where we are, how we're sitting today. You know, you've come through the process now. What have been your key achievements and successes, having now come through the blueprint in the program, having worked together?
Yeah, I guess the key things for me, I'd probably like, in terms of my work, it's no different. It's not like I'm doing fewer hours than I was before or anything like that. It's still as big a part of my life as it was. Um, I've got much clearer boundaries there between like when I need to step in and when I don't. Um, I've essentially like got better mechanisms when I'm at home for like how contactable I am. I mean, my role requires me to be contactable.
Yeah.
That's my choice, right? That I've chosen to do this job. Um, but I kind of blank out other things, like cut out some of the noise, in particular in like relation to technology, which just allows me, I guess, to be more present in the limited windows that I do have with my family at home. And that's been really powerful. And I guess in terms of like the kind of nutrition side, like as someone who uses data all the time at work, I've kind of applied the same methodology to like what I'm eating, I guess, which has allowed me to ultimately, like, I suppose, get to the results I've got in terms of like having like fitness targets again. So I mean, I've dropped like it's probably getting on for like over 2 stone now,
Yeah.
since I started this process, which has ultimately allowed me to train again in a way that I wanted to.
Yeah.
It's allowed me to like take up running again and set personal targets and ambitions that I just hadn't done since I was in the military, for what I want to achieve, and that has just given me so much of a sense of satisfaction. And I guess that it almost then becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you feel better about yourself, so you want to, I guess, you get a bit of a high, right, and you want to kind of challenge yourself again, and kind of do better and keep striving for more, which has been really good for me. So that's all been massive. And then it's like, I guess it's the second order effects of doing all of those things that just like I suppose I just feel stressed to a much less degree than I certainly used to when I was at home. Um, Previously, I'd kind of get home from work and I'd always just feel like I was still there. You know, I'd be like putting the kids to bed and just feeling my phone like vibrating in my pocket and just thinking like, I'm gonna have whatever that is, I'm gonna have to go deal with that.
Yeah.
And it would completely detract from how present I was at that moment in time. And then I feel bad for that, because I'd be like, you know, this is the only half hour I've got with like my oldest as I'm putting him to
Yeah.
bed, and I'm distracted by work. So um, all of those things have like just given me much more sense of control over what I'm doing, and allowed me to actually focus on when I'm at home, I'm kind of being more of a family man. I'm being a dad, or I'm doing stuff for me. I'm doing whatever training plan I've got for that particular day, and I'll hit that. And like sometimes life gets in the way, right? Like I'll
of
have a
course.
plan, and it won't always materialize in the way I've planned. And whereas in the past I would have said like, oh well, I guess I'll just beat myself up, and then if I can't do like the 10K that I planned to do, or if I can't do that workout that I planned, then I'll just chin it off, and maybe I'll just
Yeah.
drink a bottle of wine instead as a coping mechanism. And and increasingly now I'm just like, well, okay, moderate what you said you were trying to do. You still do the exercise, but if you can't do this, then you can do that. You can always do something.
What would you say has been your main takeaway or takeaways from having come through this whole process now?
I think it's probably just having a plan, like having a plan and then holding yourself to it. We say now as in the military, like the plan is worth nothing, but planning is worth everything. And I think that's like absolutely resonant with all this process, because you will have a plan and it will have to flex, it will have to change. But the fact that you've gone through the process of figuring out what you want to do in each different aspect of your life and how you're going to get there means that you can be dynamic and you can flex to like life, right? When something gets in the way.
Before we get off, let's say someone's watching this, maybe in a position that you were a couple of months back, not feeling the best. What would you say to someone who was in your shoes a couple of months back?
I'd probably say like stop, figure out, take some time to actually plan where you want to be. And if you're unable at that point to break that down into like bite-sized chunks as to how you're going to get there, then you don't really have a plan. You've just got like a goal which you'll never achieve, and therefore you'll just get increasingly frustrated the longer that it remains the status quo. So if you don't know how to join the dots and you want to, then like reach out and potentially get some help with how to do that, and with someone who is going to give you some mechanisms which will be like self-sustaining, so you can then go off and kind of manage it yourself thereafter, which I guess, or at least I hope, is where I'm at currently.
Yeah.